Hello and welcome to track 2. Here we have a game between the Mighty Mongrels, a mixed team from regional New South Wales, and they are playing Western City Rollers from the Penrith region of New South Wales. And from the Mighty Mongrels we have 0-0 Invader Zoom from the Mornington Peninsula, number 4 Moxie Melita from Murray River, number 6 Melchine Gunn from Central West, number 11 Lou Scannon from Wagga, number 21 Bangers from North Eastern Roller Derby, 26 Freddie Merciless from Wagga, 44 Revan Townsend from Murray River, 72 Vixen from Wagga, 87 Holy Roller from Wagga, 88 Black Ice from Northeastern, 665 of Lamb the Impaler from Northeastern, 750 Sparkling Brute from Central West, 818 Dolly from Northeast, and 1959 Zombetti from the Mornington Peninsula. And playing for Western City Rollers we've got 006 Angel Slayer, 05 Elemental, 10 Molotov, 21 Hauser, 2412 Down Under Thunder, 4 Dobie Wankanobi, 411 Ms. Rascal, 42 Lease Lightning, 44 Newton's Nightmare, 46 Crash Test Dolly, number 5 Pixamatosis, 52 Honey Punch, 77 Destruction, 82 Fraggle Block. And skating now we have Lou Scannon skating in the pink for the Mighty Mongrels. Oh, pardon me, in the yellow for the Mighty Mongrels. It's the sort of colour you can't miss. That was Lease Lightning jamming for Western Sydney. Both teams putting a point on the board, a good way to start. And jamming in the pink for Western Sydney we have Elemental, and she is up against Dolly. You might be able to hear quite a lot of sound bleed into this feed. It is of course coming from the in-house feed. I am standing right next to the speakers, so fun for everyone. Mighty Mongrels taking lead jam. Western Sydney Jammers caught behind a wall of bright yellow blockers. Dolly streaking out ahead, a 5-point pass. Elemental only completing her initial pass as they round turn 4. Dolly going for a fake, inside, outside. She makes it through the middle and calls that jam off. 4 points apiece in that particular pass. 5 points credited to the Mongrels on the scoreboard. And of course 9 points to the Mongrels on the scoreboard. And jamming now in the pink is Crash Test Dolly for Western Sydney. She is up against, I think it is Vlam the Impaler. Vlam from the Mongrels duking it out to the left, but finding a bit of a gap on the inside. But she is not the lead jammer. That goes to Western Sydney. Both teams off to a very quick start. On the knee there, calling that jam off before the Mongrels can even hit the pack. 2 points added for Western Sydney. And a big shout out to all of the referees and non-skating officials who are here today for this game, helping to keep things rolling on, making sure that all the penalties and scores are recorded correctly. And thank you also to all of the camera operators, the vision switchers, the audio people who are making this stream happen. Jamming for the Mongrels we have Sparkling Brute. She is not the lead jammer though. She has drawn a track cut, giving a power jam to Lease Lightning. Lease Lightning will have 30 seconds to put all the points she can on the board. Lease Lightning allowed to get through as Invader Zoom comes too far away from the pack. 5-point pass given to her. That's 1 point for every blocker on the track and 1 for the jammer in the penalty box. Lise manages to make her way past. Blockers are restricted with how far away from the main pack they can go, and that working to Lisa's advantage. Mighty Mongrels jammer joining her on the track. All of the advantage is over. The Mongrels duking left and right. Sparkling Brute makes her way through. She's just completed her initial pass. No points awarded for the initial pass, only for the ones that come after it. 4 more points added by Western Sydney. That makes it a 14-point jam. Scoreboard reads 21-10 Western Sydney's direction. Jamming now for Western Sydney, Elemental. She's up against Dolly. Dolly going on the outside. Not particularly solid walls, but more like individual blocking efforts. Mighty Mongrels using a 2-wall defence. Elemental gets her way through. Elemental is the lead jammer. She goes past her own blockers, engages with the 3-wall, calls the jam off as she engages, bangers the blocker from the Mongrels. 2 points given to Western Sydney, 0 points to the Mongrels. Trying to establish themselves nice and early here. Western Sydney on 23 points, 13-point advantage. Crash Test Dolly. It's like a meeting of dollies, really. Crash Test Dolly here from Western Sydney. She's got the jammer panty on. She's up against Vlam. Most teams will use a tight rotation of 3 jammers. That way they can have their head in the game, just focus on jamming. Vlam forced out of bounds on the outside. She is held behind the pack. In the meantime, Western Sydney's Dolly manages to get the lead jammer status. That gives her the strategic advantage. She is able to call that jam off whenever she feels it is best for her team. Most jammers, of course, will score 4 and then call the jam off. In that particular instance, 3 points added to Western Sydney. But the blocker there that engaged with the ref has been sent to the penalty box for an illegal play. The rules, of course, exist to protect the players and the officials. And that is the logic behind sending a player off for falling onto a referee. And this official timeout is brought to you by Spank Alley. Spank Alley has an awesome range of onesies, hoodies, chicks in bowls merchandise, compression pants and left turn clothing in stock. Sparkling Brute jamming for the Mongrels. Distraction jamming for Western Sydney. Down Under Thunder sent to the penalty box. You'll notice a fair bit of hustle on there. Down Under Thunder, of course, a very experienced speed skater from way back. Distraction calling that jam off. No points for the Mongrels for that particular jam. 4 points added for Western Sydney. And for those of you watching who haven't watched roller derby before, like most sports, probably all sports, really, there are 2 teams competing against each other. Each team is allowed to field 5 players at any one particular time. What you're watching right now is teams with 2 blockers in the penalty box. 3 blockers, really, 1 standing, 2 seated. It's the maximum number of players you can have in the penalty box at one time. And skating out in front in the pink, Newton's Nightmare. She's jamming up against Dolly. So 2 teams, 5 players each. 4 of them are blockers. 1 of them is a jammer. The jammer is the one with the star on her helmet, and she is the only one that can score points. The first time she makes her way through the pack of blockers is called the initial pass. The first one of those 2 jammers to complete that without a penalty is labelled the lead jammer. After that, every time they pass a player, they get 1 point. If there are players in the penalty box, after they pass that first player, they get 1 point for every player in the penalty box. And the jam finishes when the lead jammer calls it off by touching her hips, or when we run out of time for 2 minutes. That particular jam giving 7 points to the Mighty Mongrels, but 4 points to Western Sydney. So a 3-point advantage given to the Mighty Mongrels. And we've got a timeout being called here for the pink, for the Western Sydney. But they've returned to the track. Teams get 3 timeouts each and 2 official reviews, 1 in each half. Dolly from Western Sydney back on the jammer line, and Dolly from... That might actually not be Dolly. I'm really not very sure. That is Vlam jamming for the Mighty Mongrels. Vlam trying to mash her way through a big pile off of players there. A little bit of uncertainty on this track. People have been saying that it is a very smooth surface, but on top of that, there's a bit of condensation on the ground coming from having such different temperatures. More players falling. 5 points given to Western Sydney, but it's a track cut to the Mongrels. That means that Western Sydney is the only team who can score points for the next 30 seconds. Through the day, we have seen some teams call the jam off when they have reached the power jam status. And that just means that in the next jam, they need to complete their initial pass again, even though they're the only jammer on the track. So that particular instance, Western Sydney choosing to play on and not having to complete another initial pass. The Mongrels jammer is standing. They are allowed to stand in the box when there is 10 seconds to go in their penalty. Western Sydney still with the advantage, getting another 5-point pass and then calling that jam off. Maybe a little bit early, maybe could have kept going, trying to extract a couple more extra points, but managing to get 16 points for that jam. Sparkling Brute from the Central West. She's lining up for the Mongrels. Hauso lining up for Western Sydney. Hauso up on the toe stops, trying to get a break on the outside line, but finding it finally on the inside. However, it's the Mongrels. Sparky taking the crowd around with her. She is the lead jammer. The Mongrels will hit it. And Western Sydney jammer knocked out of bounds. Sparky keeps on skating, 4 points. And they have a power jam situation with a skating out of bounds penalty given to Hauso. The Mighty Mongrels with all the opportunities here. 1 to beat. Sparkling Brute muscles her way past destruction for a 5-point pass. The Mighty Mongrels managing to hold one of the Western Sydney blockers, Fraggle Block, back. And they call that jam off. Western Sydney Western Sydney's jammer still sitting in the penalty box. She's seated, so that means she's got more than 10 seconds left in her penalty to go. But as I was saying before, that does mean that Dolly needs to complete her initial pass. Perhaps Sparky was feeling a little fatigued and wanted to have a break, couldn't feel that she could keep going. But it is an unusual tactic for them to employ at this point. The Mongrels having to move forward as they were too far away from the pack. And we've got Hauser returning to the track, managing to sneak away past the Mongrels. A little bit not paying attention, I think. The Mongrels calling that jam off after a big hit. 3 more points added for the Mongrels. Machine Gun jamming for the Mongrels. The Mongrels, of course, being a mixed team, it's a very unusual situation where there's every chance that they actually haven't played very much together. We've seen in previous TGSSs with these mixed teams where players really only come together when they arrive in Adelaide. Distance being, of course, a big factor for teams out in the regional areas. So factor that in when you consider how well they're doing today. Elemental from Western Sydney, she is the lead jammer. She'll be able to call this jam off whenever she thinks it's strategically beneficial. And making her way past Machine Gun, completing her initial pass. Elemental forced inbounds, putting lots of pressure on the Western Sydney team, and they had to call that jam off to stop Machine Gun from scoring any points. That was great defence there by the Mongrels. Scoreboard currently in favour of Western Sydney Rollers. That's about an 18-point difference there with more than 15 minutes left in this first half. Pixamatosis jamming for Western Sydney. Luce Scannon jamming for the Mongrels. She is from Wagga and she is the lead jammer. Pixamatosis squeezes her way through. A little bit of a gap there between the Mighty Mongrels blockers. Luce is knocked to her feet, perhaps not aware how close Western Sydney are. 4 points in that pass, but Mixie probably put a couple of points on herself. 3 points, only 1 point the difference there. An earlier call would have made a bit of a score difference, but still 1 point in front for that jam. And up on the jammer line, Dolly for the Mighty Mongrels. Now there is an official timeout. There is a jammer from Western Sydney in the penalty box. I guess they're just conferring what that penalty was for. So Dolly gets the power start. Dolly marching her way through, jogging on past those Western Sydney Rollers. That is her initial pass. She rounds the corner and hits the back of the pack. She's got a very upright stance, marches her way through, forced out of bounds there by that Western Sydney blocker, and is forced to recycle back behind her own pack. In the meantime, number 5, Pixamatosis, rejoins the track. Sparkling Brute draws her back. Track cut called on the Mighty Mongrels. Doesn't seem to agree, but it doesn't matter. She is off to the penalty box. And this gives Western Sydney's Pixamatosis all the opportunities to score the points there. She's got 2 to beat, but they are persistent as, and she makes her way through to complete her initial pass. A little bit of time eaten up there on that penalty. Pixamatosis will need to make the best of what she has. Pixamatosis stuck again behind those two blockers. Black Ice holding her back. Sparkling Brute was holding her back but sent off for her efforts. Black Ice also sent off for blocking out of bounds. And there's been a dolly jamming for the Mighty Mongrels. She puts 5 points on the board. She does that by lapping the jammer. Pixamatosis having an absolutely tough time trying to get past, and she has been called for another track cut. That jam comes to a natural conclusion, a maximum of 2 minutes for any jam, and that means that the Mighty Mongrels will start in a power jam.
Give it up for our referees, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely, they've been doing more bouts than anyone else today. Yeah.
Mighty Mongrels very light on the blockers. 2 in the box. Western Sydney with 1 in the box, but also a jammer. Vlam with 1 to beat made it through. It completed her initial pass and she is the lead jammer. Another Western Sydney blocker joining the track. Vlam with 1 to beat makes her way past. That's a 5-point pass. Pixamatosis back on the track. She'll be hoping for an easier time, but actually does a star pass. And that gives the jamming responsibilities over to the pivot, the one with the stripe on her hat. But in an illegal procedure, a back block in fact, she is sent to the penalty box. Star in hand. No opportunities to score points for Western Sydney.
Great work to Western Sydney.
Western Sydney blockers though, Molotov and Destruction, managing to hold back Vlam. And every couple of seconds that they can wipe off the penalty box timer is definitely a help to them. Vlam jukes left and right but is taken down. Star over her eyes, she calls that jam off. A successful jam for the Mighty Mongrels. 9 points added to their score. Pardon me, 12 points added to their score. That puts them within single figures of Western Sydney. Don't forget to check out Spank Alley. Spank Alley have an awesome range of onesies, hoodies, Chicks in Bowls merch, compression pants, left turn, clothes, all of the things. Go and check them out. They've got a website, they've got Facebook, and they've got Instagram. Obi-Wan Kenobi very dramatically trying to indicate that she had drawn the track cut. Referees didn't want to know about it. Obi-Wan Kenobi, both panties on. She was the pivot. There was a star pass, and now she is the jammer. So yes, with no lead jammer, there are a full 2 minutes going to go on here. 4 points added to Western Sydney's score. Mighty Mongrels managing to just step through a little gap there. Vixen from Wagga is jamming for the Mongrels. She puts 4 points on. The Mighty Mongrel bench asking their jammer to call it, but of course there is no lead jammer. No one can call this jam off. It needs to go to the full 2 minutes. Western Sydney with level pegging with the Mighty Mongrels. 8 points each on this jam. They are going pack for pack. Western Sydney pops out in front. They'll be hoping to get a break from that clock. 4 points to Obi-Wan Kenobi, 4 points to Vixen. That's 12 points apiece. There is 28 seconds left in this jam. Both jammers starting to look a little bit weary. Obi-Wan Kenobi busts away out. 11 seconds to go. If Western Sydney can hold the Mongrels back for a few seconds, they will have the advantage of this jam. Western Sydney managing to hold back a little bit. Dobi-Wan Kenobi perhaps passing one more player. 5 points awarded for that pass. 3 points awarded to Western Sydney. And that jam going, all of that effort, 2 points the difference. That must be soul destroying. Loose Lightning jamming in the pink for Western Sydney up against Sparkling Brute. Sparkling Brute from the Mighty Mongrels has a cheer squad right here on turn, in between turn 3 and turn 4. Let's see if she gives us a wave to celebrate her lead jammer status. Hauser sent to the penalty box. Sparkling Brute out in front, scores and calls it. 4 points added to the Mighty Mongrels. Ms. Rascal on the jammer line. Western Sydney using all of the players, it seems, as their jammers. Interesting tactic. Some would argue, some would criticise that makes it more difficult for the jammers to keep their heads in the game. Others argue that it's harder to learn the tactics of that particular jammer if you keep mixing it up. In any case, Ms. Rascal sent to the penalty box for the use of a forearm in that block. That gives the Mongrels Mel Sheen gun the power jam status. Mel Sheen up on the toe stops, marching her way through. She has now completed her initial pass and is the lead jammer. Gun sneaking through past the one blocker that's been held behind on the knees, past the players, calls that jam off. 4 points awarded to Mel Sheen. The Western Sydney jammer, Ms. Rascal, still sitting in the penalty box, so more than 10 seconds left. Interestingly enough, Loose Lightning comes onto the track but is sent back off. Western Sydney can only have one jammer on at any one particular time. Loose Scannon skating her way to the outside, trying to make her way past. No pack called because the pack in the front, the Western Sydney Rollers, were too far away from the other Mighty Mongrels, and that allows Loose Scannon to get on through without too much fuss. Loose Scannon with 2 to beat. The big shove to no effect. 5 points added to the Mongrels score. And another power jam. Loose Scannon with all the opportunities to make even more points. She's trying to march her way past Dobi-Wan Kenobi. She's going to draw her away from the pack and does so. 5 points added to the Mongrels score. Mongrels have just taken the lead, 91 points to 82. No pack called again. Each time the Mongrels holding the pack back, making the blockers for Western Sydney unable to engage, and that absolutely worked in their favour. They call that jam off with Western Sydney jammer standing in the penalty box, giving another power start to the Mongrels. That power start will go to Sparkling Brute. Sparkling Brute with the sprinting style. She gets a big bump, but she is through now. Under the armpit, dodge and move gives her the lead jammer status. Jammer out of the penalty box. She does a star pass, giving the jam star to the pivot, Honey Punch. Honey Punch is now the jammer for Western Sydney. Honey Punch on a scoring pass, clocking up 4 points there. Mighty Mongrels perhaps calling that jam off too late. 2 points added to their score.
Triple figures, 102-86 for Western Sydney Rollers.
And the Mongrels past the 100-point mark. Jamming now for the Mighty Mongrels. We have Vlam, and she is up against Hauzo. Hauzo inching her way to the inside line. Vlam trying to squeeze through a hole that isn't there, and she gets caught on the chest of Western Sydney's Destruction. And Vlam is striding her way through. She is lead jammer, but she has just been overtaken. Hauzo has overtaken her, and Vlam, no choice really but to call that jam off. Stopping the other team from scoring points, almost as good as scoring points yourself. There's only 2 minutes left in this half. Probably another 2 jams left. And the referees call an official timeout as they gather around the penalty board and consider what is going on. This official timeout is a great opportunity to say thank you to Spank Alley. Spank Alley are a great supporter of roller derby, and thank you so much for the help you've given to TGSS. Time back on. We have Dolly jamming up against Elise Lightning. Dolly trying for the outside, but strong walls being braced by Honey Punch there. Forces her back. Dolly trying to outrun the Western Sydney Rollers. In the meantime, Elise Lightning, team captain for Western Sydney, is the lead jammer, about to engage the pack on her scoring pass. Elise Lightning up on the toe stops, taking the outside. Dolly called for a track cut. That means a power jam for Western Sydney. And that changes the tactic. Elise Lightning not sure whether to call it or not. I would think keep skating so you don't have to do your initial pass again. 5 points added to Western Sydney's score. Western Sydney hanging back, the passive defence move that's worked so well for the Mighty Mongrels so far in this half. And there it is. You see you cannot block out of bounds, too far away from the pack. And that lets Elise Lightning through for another 5-point pass. Big hit there from Bangers. Bangers from Northeast Roller Derby League. Elise Lightning ground to a halt there, giving Dolly enough time to get back onto the track. 5 more points given to Western Sydney. This is the jam that they definitely needed. 15 points added to their score so far, with Dolly rounding that corner, about to catch Lise, and she calls that jam off. Very successful jam there for Western Sydney. 15 points, 17 points added to their score, and that is an official review called. Each team is allowed 1 official review for each half, 3 timeouts for each game. Of course, the interesting thing about calling an official review this close to time running out is that the clock gets reset to allow 1 more jam. Mighty Mongrels, though, perhaps wanting to change the flow, the momentum of the game, trying to draw it back to their advantage.
Who's here just for some awesome derby?
That should be all of you.
And the in-house commentators using this opportunity to gain some enthusiasm from both the players and the crowd. Those in-house commentators have all the fun and all the lollies as well. If you were watching from home and you were in the Adelaide area, please send a courier with some lollies to me.
Yellow has lost their reviews,
So the review unsuccessful. Almost every review ever made in the history of official reviews that surpasses the history of roller derby has been unsuccessful. Always an interesting tactic to use an official review. Not impossible, I suppose. Vlam jamming for the Mighty Mongrels, and she is up against Crash Test Dolly. Mighty Mongrels get the lead jammer status. That's Vlam out in front. And there's a power jam given to the Mighty Mongrels. Crash Test Dolly sent to the penalty box. She doesn't manage to keep her feet. She still hasn't sat in that penalty box. So her penalty will start at the beginning of the next jam. Only a couple of seconds difference, but I think we've all seen how much difference there can be in just a couple of seconds in a game as fast as roller derby. So we will see how this turns out. Mighty Mongrels going into the halftime break slightly ahead, certainly a very closely matched game, and we will be back here in about 10 minutes.
Power. Winged truck with split cushion design for easy assembly and installation. The new Arius Platinum, performance redefined.
Has this ever happened to you? Fumbling your marker. Your marker's not working. Trying to scrub off those pesky markers in the shower. You forget your numbers and you're sent back to the bench.
Bench! Put your numbers on! Get those numbers on your arm!
Let's see that again.
I have a severe sweating problem. Before I got my Spank Alley armbands, the refs were always telling me to reapply my numbers. But now, I can stay in the game.
My Spank Alley armband's second as a rope. Now I can lock up the competition. Thanks, Spank Alley.
But wait, there's more. If you order now, you'll get not just one, but 2 armbands. That's one for each of your arms.
Thanks, Spank Alley!
Spank Alley armbands. Get spanked.
The Clinic, Adelaide's skate and streetwear specialist, stocking a huge range of skateboards, longboards and cruisers, as well as scooters, streetwear and footwear, plus roller skates, inline skates and Heelys. The Clinic, 20 Curry Street in the city, open 7 days, or shop with us online.
I don't think it's nice you laughing. Now, if you apologize like I know you're going to, I might convince him that you really didn't mean it.
The Arius Platinum is packed with new features. Reinforced toe section. Increased toe stop clamping power. Winged truck with split cushion design for easy assembly and installation. The new Arius Platinum Performance Redefined.
Has this ever happened to you? Fumbling your marker. Your marker's not working. Trying to scrub off those pesky markers in the shower. You forget your numbers and you're sent back to the bench.
Bench! Put your numbers on! Get those numbers on your arms!
Let's see that again.
I have a severe sweating problem. Before I got my Spank Alley armbands, the refs were always telling me to reapply my numbers. But now, I can stay in the game.
My Spank Alley armband's second as a rope. Now I can lock up the competition. Thanks, Spank Alley.
But wait, there's more. If you order now, you'll get not just one, but 2 armbands. That's one for each of your arms.
Thanks, Spank Alley!
Spank Alley armbands. Get spanked.
The Clinic, Adelaide's skate and streetwear specialist, stocking a huge range of skateboards, longboards and cruisers, as well as scooters, streetwear and footwear, plus roller skates, inline skates and Heelys. The Clinic, 20 Curry Street in the city, open 7 days, or shop with us online.
I don't think it's nice you laughing. Now, if you apologize like I know you're going to, I might convince him that you really didn't mean it.
The Arius Platinum is packed with new features. Reinforced toe section. Increased toe stop clamping power. Winged truck with split cushion design for easy assembly and installation. The new Arius Platinum Performance Redefined.
Has this ever happened to you? Fumbling your marker. Your marker's not working. Trying to scrub off those pesky markers in the shower. You forget your numbers and you're sent back to the bench.
Bench! Put your numbers on! Get those numbers on your arms!
Let's see that again.
I have a severe sweating problem. Before I got my Spank Alley armbands, the refs were always telling me to reapply my numbers. But now, I can stay in the game.
My Spank Alley armband's second as a rope. Now I can lock up the competition. Thanks, Spank Alley.
But wait, there's more. If you order now, you'll get not just one, but 2 armbands. That's one for each of your arms.
Thanks, Spank Alley!
Spank Alley armbands. Get spanked.
The Clinic, Adelaide's skate and streetwear specialist, stocking a huge range of skateboards, longboards and cruisers, as well as scooters, streetwear and footwear, plus roller skates, inline skates and Heelys. The Clinic, 20 Curry Street in the city, open 7 days, or shop with us online.
I don't think it's nice you laughing. if you apologize like I know you're going to, I might convince him that you really didn't mean it.
The area's platinum is packed with new features. Reinforced toe section. Increased toe stop clamping power. Winged truck with split cushion design for easy assembly and installation. The new Arius Platinum, performance redefined.
Has this ever happened to you? Fumbling your marker. Your marker's not working. Trying to scrub off those pesky markers in the shower. You forget your numbers and you're sent back to the bench.
Your bench! Put your numbers on! Get those numbers on your arms!
Let's see that again.
I have a severe sweating problem. Before I got my Spank Alley armbands, the refs were always telling me to reapply my numbers. But now, I can stay in the game.
My Spank Alley armband's second as a rope. Now I can lock up the competition. Thanks, Spank Alley.
But wait, there's more. If you order now, you'll get not just one, but 2 armbands. That's one for each of your arms.
Thanks, Spank Alley!
Spank Alley armbands. Get spanked.
The Clinic, Adelaide's skate and streetwear specialist, stocking a huge range of skateboards, longboards and cruisers, as well as scooters, streetwear and footwear, plus roller skates, inline skates and Heelys. The Clinic, 20 Curry Street in the city, open 7 days, or shop with us online.
I don't think it's nice you laughing. Now, if you apologize like I know you're going to, I might convince him that you really didn't mean it.
And we're back from that halftime break. The Mighty Mongrels taking on the Western Sydney Rollers. Mighty Mongrels just a smidge in front there, 107 playing 103. Mighty Mongrels being a mixed regional New South Wales team. Western Sydney based out in Penrith in Sydney's west. A little bit of argy-bargy starting already. Pixamatosis almost caught as a bunny just before the first whistle even blows. And the very first jam of the second half being a power jam. Dolly, the only jammer on the track. Mighty Mongrels get lead status. Western Sydney lining up there on the jammer line. Dolly smashes into the back of Newton's Nightmare. Keeps on going. She's through for a 5-point pass. The Western Sydney jammer standing in the penalty box. That means she'll be on in less than 10 seconds. And in fact, here she comes. Vixen waiting for her to re-enter the track. Crash test Dolly. Dolly versus Dolly. Western Sydney's Dolly caught behind a wall. Getting a little bit of assistance there from the Obi-Wan Kenobi. Dolly from the Mongrels scoring another 5-point pass. Western Sydney's Dolly unable to get her way past the blockers. She hasn't completed her initial pass yet. So Mixed Mongrels Dolly, oh no, a high block given to Mixed Mongrels Dolly, giving the power jam to Western Sydney. And because Mixed Mongrels Dolly was the lead jammer, there is now no lead jammer for this jam, which means it will go for the full 2 minutes. That's only 35 seconds more. Western Sydney's Dolly rounding corner 2 and getting a bit of assistance from her blockers to mess up the mongrel wall. She still needs to get past Vixen. Vixen managing to hold her on her chest, getting another bit of help there from Lou Scannon, but Dolly is through for 5 points for Western Sydney. Captain Vixen trying to urge her blockers to wall up. They finally do brace. Up the inside line for Dolly. Crash test Dolly from Western Sydney scoring 2 points there. Dolly from the Mighty Mongrels scoring 3 points. Referee's just being very mindful of a potential injury there. No doubt bench managers will have a look at that. Lease Lightning jamming for Western Sydney. She thought she was through. She takes a couple of steps but is held back by the Mongrels. Vlam needs to reset and re-engage those Western Sydney blockers. They reset up the front of the pack so they can engage her again. One big hit, but Vlam is through, completes her initial pass. Western Sydney marching on through, scores the points, calls the jam off. 4 quick points added to Western Sydney's score. The scoreboard reads 120 to the Mongrels and 114 to the Rollers. It's been a very close game for the entire time. Elemental jamming for Western Sydney. Western Sydney in the pink. And she's up against Sparkling Brute for the Mighty Mongrels. Both teams going a bit fluoro. Sparky trying to get the inside line, unable to do so, but streaks on the outside. She's got one more to beat, and she is lead jammer. Elemental meeting all of the blockers again and again. Vixen catching her on her chest. It seems to be the way that she rolls. Elemental still with one to beat. Black Ice trying to hold her back with a banana. But Elemental is through. In the meantime, Sparky scoring a 5-point pass, grabbing that extra point for the jammer as she laps her. And she calls that jam off, denying Western Sydney any opportunity to score any more points. Mighty Mongrels, 8 points for that jam. keeping the lead 128 to 114.
Early days in the second half.
Dolly is back on the track. Good to see. Obviously not a big injury for her. Clutching at the mouth before, but back on the track now. Loose Cannon jamming for the Mongrels. Loose looking for a spot on the outside line. A little bit of crab walking from Hauser, holding her back. Loose Cannon out in front. She is the lead jammer. Western Sydney jammer getting lapped there. Loose Cannon successful in her jamming efforts. Crash test dummy called for a track cut, and she is sent to the penalty box, giving Loose Cannon a power jam. 5 points there for that pass. 30 more seconds left for Loose Cannon to be in this power situation. Bangers about to engage the blockers, then deciding to hold back, now looking a bit confused. Loose Cannon taking on Molotov, but getting on past. 5 more points added to the Mongrels score. And Western Sydney, Dolly standing in the penalty box there, about to join on the track. And that jam called off before Dolly could re-enter the track. 3 further points added to the Mongrels. 13 points overall. And that gap just gets a little bit bigger. I think that's 27 points the difference. Machine Gun jamming for the Mighty Mongrels. Dobi-Wan Kenobi jamming for Western Sydney. She sneaks up the outside like the Jedi that she is. Machine Gun forced to the outside. Dobi-Wan Kenobi in the meantime also forced to the outside, but she is a good lap ahead. 1 to beat. Moxie gets on through. 5 points for her trouble. And Dobi-Wan through again. Keeps lapping that other jammer. Western Sydney are going to have all of the advantage here. 5 more points added. And Dobi-Wan Kenobi rounding the outside. She is going to engage the pack again. Western Sydney blockers too good for the Mighty Mongrels. The Mongrels busy holding back, or trying to hold back Dobi-Wan Kenobi. Unable to help Machine Gun. Not, of course, not helped by Vlam being sent to the penalty box for a multiplayer block. Machine Gun not having any luck at all. The passive defence from the Mongrels not actually helping their jammer. Dobi-Wan Kenobi just sticking with the pack, looking for the gap when it appears. Finds one on the inside. Manages to beat Moxie out. 5 more points added to Western Sydney's score. They're not going to want to call this jam off. There's 15 more seconds. At least one more scoring opportunity. Dobi-Wan Kenobi. And a big hit there from Moxie. And Dobi sent off to the penalty box for a low block. 2 points added to her score, though. The massive jam for Western Sydney. 21 points added to their score. They're still a little behind. Much like myself. A little behind. 6 points the difference to the Mighty Mongrels. Power jam given to Revan Townsend from the Murray River. She is the power jammer. She's picked up lead jammer status. She has an impressive beard, of course, and that seems to be powering her through. She's summoning all of the strength of the hipsters She's trying to march her way over the top of Western Sydney, but that is not working. Jammer is standing in the penalty box for the Western Sydney Rollers. And Western Sydney rejoins the track. Power jam over. Toby-Wan Kenobi taking the magic back. Toby-Wan Kenobi strides on past, not the lead jammer, but she is in front. Completes her initial pass. There's been a star pass, which means that they've lost their advantage of being able to call the jam off. That means that Toby-Wan Kenobi can go for another minute and just over a minute, scoring what she can. Black Ice and Banger trying to hold her back. Banger sent off for a low block there. Toby-Wan Kenobi can't get past Vixen. 4 points added to the Mongrel score. Sparkling Brute with the jammer panty on, playing the pivot role. Toby-Wan Kenobi starting to look a little tired. 2 full 2-minute jams in a row, apparently taking it out of her. And with every hit, it just does not help. 4 more points for the Mongrels through Sparky. 4 more points for Toby-Wan. Another high-scoring jam here. Just under 10 seconds left in the jam. 4 points added for the Mighty Mongrels. And that jam called.
That is the end of the jam. Mighty Mongrels holding on to a lead. It's
12 points added to the Mongrel score. 6 points added to Western Sydney. In that gap, now 12 points. Certainly a close game. Mighty Mongrels doing well to hold on to their own, being the mixed pack, being from all over the place. Wagga, Northeast, Murray River, Mornington Peninsula, and Central West New South Wales. From the Penrith area, Lease Lightning for Western Sydney Rollers is lead jammer. Luce Scannon jamming for Mighty Mongrels. No opportunity to score there. A quick 4 and called it there for Western Sydney. Crash test dummy back on the jammer line for Western Sydney. She is up against Vlam in the bright yellow. Mighty Mongrels with the pack advantage, 3-2. With that pack advantage, still unable to hold back Crash Test Dummy, and Vlam streaks up on the inside line as well. Half a track in it. Crash Test Dolly, though, she is the lead jammer. She'll be able to call this off before Vlam can score, and does so. Well timed, great awareness of the other players on that track. 3 points added to Western Sydney, and they are just inching forward, trying to catch the Mighty Mongrels. And Black Ice back on the jammer line. Haven't seen her for a while for the Mongrels, and she's up against Elemental. Black Ice trying to find the gap on the inside. Elemental just goes straight up the guts and gets her way through. Western Sydney in the lead jammer position. They will likely hit the pack and call it. 1 point added to Western Sydney. Only 3 points in it now. Lots of timeouts left. Mighty Mongrels haven't used any of their timeouts. Western Sydney only used one. And of course, both teams have an official review that they can use as a timeout if they want to. Teams will be reluctant to use a timeout if they don't have to maintain this momentum. Both teams scoring well. And this timeout gives us an opportunity to say thank you so much to Spank Alley. You should check out Spank Alley because they have an awesome range of onesies, hoodies, chicks in bowls, merchandise, compression pants, and left turn clothing. If you're watching at home, you're not at TGSS, you could get a friend to grab you some awesome stuff. There are lots of specials on this weekend. Probably a good idea to go and check out the items they have on sale on Facebook and Instagram. And that's Spank Alley. Thank you to all of the referees, non-skating officials and other volunteers, including, of course, the streaming crew that's bringing you this vision and sound. Without the volunteers, roller derby would be nothing. So thank you to all of you for your work. Some confusion there. Lease Lightning looking around, not sure whether the jam had been called on. We are in a pavilion where there are 4 tracks in very close proximity. It does get a little confusing with all of those whistles. Lease Lightning breaking her way through. She is the lead jammer. And she's in a power jam. Black Ice standing in the penalty box for the Mighty Mongrels. She will hope for an opportunity to engage the pack. Western Sydney still the lead jammer. Black Ice needing to complete her initial pass, which will give Lease Lightning a little bit of time to get a couple of extra points. Black Ice called for a track cut. Didn't see the blocker that called her behind them. So that's another 30 seconds of a power jam for Lease Lightning. Western Sydney sneaking out in front. Lease Lightning getting a fantastic assist from her blocker, Rev. Oh, pardon me, that wasn't Rev at all. That was Newton's Nightmare. Newton Nightmare there again to help Lease Lightning through. She doesn't need it. She's through for another 5-point pass. Black Ice in the meantime in the penalty box standing. She's ready to rejoin the track. She has completed her initial pass, I believe. Black Ice going for the star pass, drops the panty. Oh, there's some confusion about who can pick a panty up. Only the pivot or the jammer are allowed to touch the star. And Lease Lightning has had enough. She calls that jam off. She's scored enough points. She's copped enough hits. 18 points added to Western Sydney's score. Now in front by 15 points. This game, though, very close the whole game. This could still go either way. And, of course, there's still more than 13 minutes left. Crash Test Dolly back on the jammer line along with Vlam, both high rotation jammers for their respective teams, both going to the outside line. Crash Test Dolly trying to charge her way through, head down, manages to make her way through as lead jammer. Vlam shortly out behind her, about a quarter of a track in it. Vlam, though, with a fair bit of acceleration on her. Crash Test Dolly calling that jam off as she hits the pack, able to get 2 quick points. Fantastic track awareness, great awareness of the other players. What a wonderful effort there from Crash Test Dolly. 170 plays 153. Hauser back on the jamming line in the pink for Western Sydney. She is up against Dolly. We have a Dolly overload here in the jammers. Dolly trying to march her way through. A frenzy of arms happening, and that gets Dolly through as the lead jammer. Hauser towing the outside line there, up on one skate, stays in bounds and catches up. 4 points each.
4 points for West Sydney.
Dolly will want to maintain some sort of advantage, hit the pack and calls the jam off. A net advantage given to given to the Mighty Mongrels for just one extra point there, perhaps calling it a little bit later than she would have liked. Scoreboard now reads 174 for Western Sydney and 158 for the Mighty Mongrels.
Don't go anywhere. We've got more to
Still over 10 minutes left in this game, and Dobie Wankanobi, we saw her with those fantastic power jams before. She is jamming for Western Sydney. Sparky jamming for the Mongrels. Pardon me, Luce Scannon jamming for the Mongrels. Dobie is the lead jammer for this jam. Luce is forced back behind the pack. Western Sydney looking for the track cut and get it. Luce Scannon off to the penalty box. That gives Dobie one another power jam. 5 more points added to their score already. Dobie catching a big chest full of bangers. 5 more points added to Western Sydney. Mighty Mongrels brace. The manner in which they're bracing, though, making them very liable for, or very vulnerable to the multiplayer block. Black Ice hoping to knock Dobie one out of bounds, and does so with the track cut. There would have been like a centimetre in that. Luce Scannon not wearing the jammer panty, skating on through with it in her hand. She has the option of continuing to skate as the jammer, or she can pass that duty on to Sparky. Luce puts the jammer panty back on. She's going to jam for at least a little bit longer. There is no lead jammer in this particular jam, so 10 more seconds will happen. 5-point pass to the Mighty Mongrels. Dobie one looking absolutely smashed. Back on the track, tries to take on Luce Scannon to slow her points. 4 points added to Western Sydney's score. 2 points added to the Mighty Mongrels. Another high-scoring jam there. 14 points to Western Sydney, 7 points to the Mongrels.
left to go. It's down to the wire again.
23 points in it. Still anyone's game. Still just over 8 minutes left in this game. Vlam going for the inside line. She was following Western Sydney's crash test Dolly. Dolly, however, knocked on the outside while Vlam makes it through on the inside. Vixen, team captain for the Mongrels, slowing crash test Dolly. Vlam using brute strength to take the inside line and managing to draw a multiplayer block on the Western Sydney Rollers. Vlam with a 5-point pass. Floats on into the back of the blockers. 4 more points to Vlam. Crash test Dolly only just completing her initial pass. Vlam not leaving it to chance, not putting the pressure on her blockers and just calling that jam off before Western Sydney could add anything to their score.
Onesie Sunday is tomorrow.
He's excited. He's a day early for Onesie.
Got to warm up the onesie.
Exactly. I might see him.
Elemental jamming for Western Sydney. She's up against Mel Sheen Gun from the Mighty Mongrels. Originally Mel Sheen Gun, of course, with the Central West Roller Derby League. Elemental lead jammer. She's streaking ahead. She's the only jammer on the track with the Mighty Mongrels. Mel Sheen Gun sent off for a forearm block. 30 seconds of this power jam left. Elemental just bumping shoulders with Dolly there. 5 points added to Western Sydney's score. Western Sydney opening up the gap a little more with this power jam. Elemental trying to get a little help from Destruction there. Not able to make it through the gap. Western Sydney pack holding back now to draw the no pack, which gets Elemental through. The Mighty Mongrels jammer standing in the penalty box. Elemental calls that jam, adding 5 points. But now the Western Sydney jammer has to complete their initial pass before they can start scoring, perhaps losing that advantage of the power jam. Scoreboard reads 198 to 174. That is a 24-point advantage to Western Sydney. Crash Test Dolly making her initial pass. Machine Gun back on the track. No advantage given to Western Sydney for having that power jam start. Crash Test Dolly completing her initial pass is the lead jammer. Massive gap left on the inside line. Instead of driving a truck through that gap, Crash Test Dolly just skates on through, scoring 5 points. Machine Gun having to put a little bit of pedal to the metal there. Crash Test Dolly thrusting the hips forward but unable to catch any extra points, but denying Machine Gun any points as well. 5-point advantage for Western Sydney in that jam. And that gap is starting to open up. 29 points the difference here for Western Sydney. The Mongrels fielding Sparky up against Elemental. Sparky directing one of her blockers, Zombetti, to stop Elemental. Elemental bounces off, bouncy off Invader Zoom. The single blocker out in front there, Invader Zoom managing to knock her out of the track. Elemental having to circle back around to turn 1 to rejoin the pack. Not the lead jammer, but Sparky able to put on a massive amount of pressure on Western Sydney, forcing them to call off that jam without adding any points. This is the type of play that will help the Mighty Mongrels, but ultimately they're going to need to score those extra points. Team captain from Western Sydney, Lease Lightning, back on the track. She is up against Dolly from the Mighty Mongrels. Dolly originally from Northeast Roller Derby. Dolly forced back out of bounds. Meantime, Western Sydney takes on lead jammer status. Lease Lightning has half a track to her advantage. She will try to score some quick points and call it. I'm imagining does exactly that. Unclear on whether... they managed to get one sneaky point there to Dolly. Great work by the Mighty Mongrel. 3 points the advantage for Western Sydney. Only 3 minutes left in the game. That's 1 minute for every point, right? Loose Cannon jamming for the Mighty Mongrels. She is up against Crash Test Dolly. Western Sydney with a very big pack advantage. 4 players to only 2 players of the Mongrels. Loose Cannon getting a little cuddle in there. Unable to get past Fraggle Block. But she is doing great work considering the odds being against her. No pack called. She is able to break on through to get lead jammer status. Crash Test Dolly with laces coming undone there. That could lead to tears. Scannon able to take a little look over the shoulder. Scored 3 points but denied any points being scored by Dolly. 178 to the Mighty Mongrels. But Western Sydney Rollers a little bit in front, 207 points with 2 minutes left. I'm assuming maybe 3 more jams in this game. Elemental jamming for Western Sydney. Sparky jamming again for the Mighty Mongrels. Both teams starting slowly. Elemental finding a massive gap on the outside line. Mighty Mongrels trying to help Sparky get through. Successfully done. But they are still half a track behind. Elemental past that fourth blocker. 4 points added to her score, but she keeps on skating. Sparky held back by the Western Sydney blockers, but manages to get her hips past. She gets a little lift from her blocker. Elemental passing her 4 blockers, and 5 players, sorry, that's 4 blockers and a jammer. And that jam going in the way of Western Sydney, but more importantly, winding time off the clock. And that is going to be Western Sydney's advantage. They don't need to score the points, they just need to hang on to what they have. With 52 seconds in the game, this is going to come down to the last jam or 2. Not an impossible thing for the Mighty Mongrels to win, but just not looking very likely at the moment. Vlam trying for the outside line. Jogging up the inside line though, we have Honey Punch. Honey is the lead jammer. She's got arms out trying to hold back. A multiplayer block called for that. Vlam sprinting out in front, 4 points scored to the Mongrels. Honey Punch sent to the penalty box for a back block. This is a power jam for the Mighty Mongrels. They have no more time left on the game clock. 5 points added to the Mongrels. It's a big ask. They have over a minute left, but they have 25 points, I think. I can't see the scoreboard right now. 5 points added to the Mongrels score. This jam will go till the very, very end. Both jammers on the track now. Vlam looking a little fatigued. No surprise, really. Vlam taken down by Destruction, but sent to the penalty bin for her efforts. 4 points added by Honey Punch. The gap is likely to just stay as it is. Mighty Mongrels adding another 4 points. Vlam getting urged on by her bench. Honey Punch looking disgusted in the clockwise block. And that jam comes to the end. The unofficial score, 222 playing 200 even for the Mighty Mongrels. 22 points the difference. Certainly a massive effort there by the Mighty Mongrels. A mixed team, as I said before, from regional New South Wales. Not a lot of opportunities for games when you're living a million miles away from your nearest neighbour, let alone your neighbouring league. And referees call that as the final score. Victory to the Western Sydney Rollers, but certainly no embarrassment to the Mighty Mongrels. What a tremendous game. There will be more derby in just a few minutes. I have actually no idea what the time is, but the next game will start at 7:30. We will see you there.
The area's platinum is packed with new features. Reinforced toe section. Increased toe stop clamping power. Winged truck with split cushion design for easy assembly and installation. The new Arius Platinum, performance redefined.
Has this ever happened to you? Fumbling your marker. Your marker's not working. Trying to scrub off those pesky markers in the shower. You forget your numbers and you're sent back to the bench.
Bench! Put your markers on! Get those numbers on your arms.
Let's see that again.
I have a severe sweating problem. Before I got my Spank Alley armbands, the refs were always telling me to reapply my numbers. But now, I can stay in the game.
My Spank Alley armband's second as a rope. Now I can lock up the competition. Thanks, Spank Alley.
But wait, there's more. If you order now, you'll get not just one, but 2 armbands. That's one for each of your arms.
Thanks, Spank Alley.
Spank Alley armbands. Get spanked.
The Clinic, Adelaide's skate and streetwear specialist, stocking a huge range of skateboards, longboards and cruisers, as well as scooters, streetwear and footwear, plus roller skates, inline skates and Heelys. The Clinic, 20 Curry Street in the city, open 7 days, or shop with us online.
I don't think it's nice you laughing. Now, if you apologize like I know you're going to, I might convince him that you really didn't mean it.